Read Palestine Week is over, but that does not mean you cannot read books from Palestine, so I'm going to put the books that I have read in the description down below for you to pick up. And hey, also comment down some books from and about Palestine that you may have read this Read Palestine Week or you are really interested in reading. But let's get right into the first book that I read, which was Environmental Warfare in Gaza. I also have the copy here. Environmental Warfare in Gaza, I believe, was it was the most academic book out of the three that I read, like I said in the video last week. However, I still found it quite accessible. It was not as difficult as I thought it would be to read. It's not long, it's about 130 pages if you include like the acknowledgements, the introduction, everything, like front to back, minus like the bibliography and stuff, and the glossary. But I read it in a train journey. On my journey from Liverpool to home, I read it. It was a cumulatively 3-hour journey, basically, and very, very interesting, inspiring, infuriating read. It covers many topics like Israel's use of herbicide against the Palestinian people in Gaza, the destruction of the orange trade in Gaza, but also how Gazans have adapted and have started the strawberry trade in Gaza, in Israel basically taking the arable land in Palestine, particularly Gaza, and making it so Gazans have no access to that land. It is genuinely, it's very infuriating, but also does lend credence to giving us some good points to raise to discuss about how Israel has abused and used Gaza. And I'll read you an extract. Formerly made up of lush citrus, olive, pomegranate and fig tree orchards that served as a continuous link between Gaza and the rest of Palestine, the historical production of the border area and the buffer zone also involves strict controls by the occupation army of agricultural and crop cultivation. Palestinian farmers living and working along the border are prohibited by the Israeli military from growing crops over 1 meter high, meaning that the cultivation of any trees in these areas is routinely destroyed, with farmers forced to transition and plant other low-growing crops. The Israeli occupation of Gaza is so, in the weeds of Palestine that they are not allowed to grow the crops historically grown in Gaza. The crops that for generations families in Gaza have been growing, not just for the local economy, but for the people themselves to be able to consume, and forced to be replaced by other crops. Other crops that, even though they are growing, Israel still routinely destroys because they say these crops will hinder their military activities. They will routinely drop herbicides just throughout Gaza for no particular reason. All the while, just on the other side of the border between Gaza and Israel, there are Israeli farmers growing crops with no issues, actually getting government funding to be able to grow those crops. It is infuriating, and this book has continuous examples of this sort of behavior by Israel against the people of Gaza. Israel has basically tried to turn the land itself against the people of Gaza, and that only gets exacerbated every single time they invade and kill people in Gaza and destroy Gaza. And you have these Israelis saying, oh, why is Gaza like the way it is? Why is it an open air prison? Because Israel ensures that it is, controlling everything that goes in and out of the enclave, controlling the people, controlling what they can do. And the Gazans still managed to build buildings, build schools, build businesses, build football clubs. They were still able to do those things, and then Israel's like, oh, but it's an open air prison, look at what they built. Because they did that despite what Israel has done to them. They did that despite what the Egyptians have done to them. That is the soul of the people of Palestine, despite the hardship forced upon them by the occupation and its allies. They have managed to flourish, and they will rebuild, they will reclaim, they will get their homes back. Next up is We Are Not Numbers. This book, if environmental warfare infuriated me, this one moved me. It is a collection of essays and sometimes poems, sometimes short stories from young people in Gaza, basically from about 2014 up until 2024, and it is them. We Are Not Numbers is actually a organization itself that is which helps Palestinians write, to create their writings, to get it out there. It can maybe used to help them get scholarships, help them get jobs as well. It is really great. You can go into their website, which I will also put in the description down below for you to check out, and you can support them too. So it basically has essays that their contributors have written for the website since 2014 up until obviously in this book late 2024. And the thing that is, you know, extra, a little bit extra, that also, you know, adds to the book, that at the end of every essay or, you know, whatever piece of writing is in there, there is an update about the person who did the writing. You know, maybe they are still in Gaza, maybe there's someone who was able to get out of Gaza during the genocide, someone who maybe went off to go study elsewhere, Turkey and Egypt, or someone who's running a business in Gaza or was running a business in Gaza. And a lot of these are really shaped by grief, shaped by hope, shaped by a want for more, a want for freedom. I mean, let me throw an anecdote in there for this. So I went back to university this year. Well, I went to university. I dropped out after a week when I was 18. And I'll be honest, I'm still not very diligent at studying. But a lot of these people in this book, I think some of them probably my age as well, if you're looking at some of the earlier writings especially, them talking about their like desire to, one of them is all about a girl who's like, I just want to read books, but it's hard for me to get books because Israel limits the books coming in. I have read most of the books the places I can get them. The libraries aren't open for very long. I basically need to read on my little smartphone, and even then we don't have electricity for most of the day, and so I can't access the internet until the late night. Sometimes I have to go off and print out stuff I want to read. And, you know, especially for my studies as well. And it made me just click, being like, what am I doing? Like, these people are so desperate to learn, basically to help them escape the situation they have been forced into. And I'm here like, yeah, shit, let me bang out all of my studying for 3 weeks and a week when I should have been doing it more diligently. And obviously that's not the point. The point isn't about me, but you know, you see how all peoples who struggle, really, all peoples who face struggle are so much more, they are forced actually to have to be hardier than us. They are not naturally hardier than us. No one is naturally hardier than anyone else, but they are forced into a situation that makes them to have to be, and that's genuinely sad. That is genuinely upsetting that these people are some of the people in this are, were quite young when they were writing. These young people forced into adultification, forced to have to be more like adults, forced to think about their futures when they should just be hanging out with their friends, going out and playing sports, playing video games, talking, going to cafes. But they're forced to have to really, you can feel it in this book. You know, the other one infuriated me, this one made me want to cry. And the final book I read for Read Palestine Week is The Palestine Laboratory. This book, I think, is a middle ground between the other two, so it is maybe leans a little bit more towards the academic perspective than the two books, but it is not a full-on, like, you know, academic text. It is still a non-fiction book you would find in a shop, if that kind of makes sense. It obviously is about how Israel is a major hub for weapons, and how they basically use Palestine as a way to help them sell those weapons. But it also goes into the history of Israel's, you know, weapons trade, and how actually, you know, it's very sinister, and how governments even that claim to be like, oh, we're very neutral and everything, they buy the weapons from Palestine and use it to exploit and oppress their own people. I mean, when Chile was overtaken by a US-backed junta, Israel were the ones giving them weapons. Israel was sending them the weapons to be used on the people of Chile. You know, we have the examples of how, even more modern examples, that, you know, Israeli companies like Elbit, who have a massive contract with the United Kingdom, and their, you know, Palestine action would target Elbit regularly, and Elbit were, you know, part of some of the groups that were like, hey, can you make them terrorists or something to stop them? But circling back to the book, you know, Elbit were creating basically surveillance stuff for COVID in Israel, you know, so they could tell, you know, the spread of COVID and who had it and where they were, and to mitigate the spread. That's now being used to surveil Palestinians. That's now being used to, you know, track where Palestinians are and make it easier for the Israelis to kidnap them. You know, it's, you know, how Israel currently has relations selling weapons to, you know, apparent enemies of the West. Like, they give and sell weapons to Russia. You know, they are giving weapons to India, who have now fallen out with the United States. This also, it talks about the spyware that Israel develops, and basically all the countries now are buying their spyware through Israel. The Pegasus software is one you may have heard of, where, you know, basically it is almost undetectable. I think it took leaks for many high-ranking officials globally to figure out that they were actually being spied on through an Israeli spyware, and that's what Israel does. And a thing that helps them and helps their companies to sell these weapons is the fact that they are tried. It goes into detail talking about how they are tried and tested on the Palestinians, from the guns to the surveillance to the drones. They use them on the Palestinian people, and then the companies, with the full backing and support of the Israeli government, there is no separation there. They are like this in doing this. They go to other countries or other buyers and be like, hey, this is the data we found, this is what we collected from, I don't know how effective it is on killing someone, how effective it is on destroying a protest, how effective it is on spying on people. We've done this from the Palestinians, you can do this. It's sickening. It is genuinely sickening. Like, obviously the entire military industrial complex globally is sickening, but they specifically use Palestinians basically like guinea pigs to test their weapons and test their technologies, so then they can sell them to other people, and, you know, to fund Israel's continued genocide and occupation of the Palestinian people, and, you know, their goal of going even further and expanding. It's very detailed. It is very interesting and important read. I think all three of these are important reads. So those are the three books I read for Read Palestine Week. Let me know in the comments down below what you read. Clearly I went very heavy on non-fiction this year. I think last year I had one fiction book in there, but let me know what you read. Before I sign off, I want to do two things. One, I want to thank my members. Members get access to special bonus videos, they get access to special threads, they get to be part of a movie and book club, which you can become a part of for £1 a month. This month we are reading The Hilo Hippo of Hidden A Park, and also we are going to be watching A Muppet's Christmas Carol. So, you know, if you're interested, you can get in on that. They also had a part to play in picking the books I was reading for Palestine Read Week, and they have done so in the past, so you can do that from as little as £1 a month. And also, before I sign off, I want to present to you a special message that is even more important to me than you becoming a member. You know, look, you know what, this month, don't become a member, but if you can, please help out this cause that you are now going to see a video about now. You read books, I need you to listen to me right now. Ibrahim and Omar are trying to rebuild the first library in Gaza after the genocide. So, Israel have systematically destroyed places of education, of learning, libraries, universities. Israel has leveled all of them in Gaza. And so these two brave men have decided they want to rebuild and will build the first library in Gaza post-genocide. And just so you know, it was already difficult for Palestinians in Gaza to get access to books prior to the genocide, because Israel would limit things like electricity, they would limit things like books going into Gaza in the first place. So these men are on a mission. Not only have they been carrying around their own books through multiple displacements, through multiple bombings, through multiple shellings, in tents, in the rain, in the outside, they've been carrying them all around with them, what little they had on them. They've also been trying to salvage and recover any books they can find during their displacement. They have 9 goals, and we're going to go through them together. Firstly, preserve the surviving books, rebuild Gaza's spirit through knowledge, support Gaza's children through learning and imagination, provide new sources of learning, a space for art and expression, support local writers and artists, build hope and keep culture alive, document the journey, and ensure long-term sustainability. These are all just fantastic things to do, regardless of having to do this after a genocide, but then having the motivation and spirit to do this for their community after what they are going through is commendable. So I'm going to put the link to this in the comments of this video for you to go off and see if you can donate. Again, it is Read Palestine Week as of me recording this video, so even more of an incentive for you to go out and see what you can do to help these guys on this just fantastic mission that they are on. So a link to help Ibrahim and Omar is going to be in the comments and the description of this video. So if you can, please do go off and support them. That is far more important than you becoming a member of this channel. Please go and give your money to them if you can. And yes, thank you for watching. Remember, comment down below any books you read this Read Palestine week. Like, subscribe, share the video with a friend or family member. And as always, Free Palestine.